Hey everybody, welcome back to the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. I'm your host, Gordon Gambles, and welcome back to another DFS breakdown, this time UFC Vegas 58, coming off of a Max Holloway L. That's the unfortunate reality of it all. It was a great fight night, maybe anticlimactic for me as a Max fan at the end, but still made some money and had a pretty successful DraftKings night. Now we got 12 fights ahead. I don't want to waste too much of your time, so before I jump right into it, just want to say, check me out on Twitter at GamblesGordo or subscribe to the channel down below. Lots of content coming out. I feel like we've been on a roll recently, and I would absolutely appreciate all the support you can give me. So let's make some more money together. Let's break down this card. Starting off in the main event, Raphael Z versus Raphael dos Anjos. You heard me right. Battle of the Raphaels. Fiziev sitting at 9K. RDA sitting all the way down there at 7.2. RDA, of course, going to have that experience advantage, but I think that's all really he has in this spot, unfortunately. I know he's going to have that grappling upside, but how can you have grappling upside when you're facing a guy with such good takedown defense as Raphael Z? Now, maybe I overshot that a bit. I do know that RDA definitely has the cardio advantage here. It's Fiziev's first 5-rounder, and honestly, I don't even think it goes 5. But definitely when it comes to cardio and experience, you got to give the edge to RDA. But when you look at a stylistic matchup, it looks like a spot where Fiziev might be able to have some success. 9K is a bit steep, especially for a guy only averaging 65 DraftKings points. I mean, he hasn't been able to do that well so far in his wins. Only one fight putting up over 105. All the other ones putting up below 75 points, being less than 10x his value. So it's tough for me to back him at 9K with really just a lot of enthusiasm. I think he's going to have that knockout upside. He's going to be the better striker. There's no question about it. The quicker, more powerful man, in my opinion. And he'll have the ability to put RDA's lights out. And that's pretty much his win condition here. But I just think there's better options up top. Sure, I like some Fiziev if you're looking to target that main event, but he's not necessarily one I'm running to roster in all my lineups. I think there's a ton of great options on the slate, a ton of GPP plays, and GPP wise, I don't know necessarily if that style of Fiziev scores very well in DraftKings in the first place. So give me Fiziev as the official pick, but not one I'm really running to roster on my lineups. More so, might be leaning towards the dog in some DraftKings just because RDA's win condition scores pretty well, having the advantage in the later rounds and having the ability to go out there and land takedowns. However, the official pick is going to be Raphael Z. Like I mentioned, GPP plays, and I mean, I have to talk about Ronny Lawrence in this spot here. Ronny Lawrence is my kryptonite. These guys who are able to shoot takedowns non-stop and have cardio for days. Ronny Lawrence, Merab Dvalishvili, they're my DFS weakness. They're just what I love to roster, and just wait till you hear these stats. Ronny Lawrence is averaging 133 fan points on DraftKings. He shoots 9.15 takedowns per 15 minutes. You heard that right. 9.15 takedowns for 15 minutes. This guy's stats are through the roof. And of course, when you have a style like that, you have the ability to go out there and have a very high ceiling because you are such a good grappler and you do a lot of things that score well by DraftKings standards. However, you're getting a really tough matchup. Saidyokub Kakhramonov is an absolute killer, and the one weakness we have seen from Ronny Lawrence is he has been able to get cracked. He's a very big guy at that weight division, and he got cracked a couple times in the third round of his last fight, and he didn't finish before in his career. So really tough spot for Lawrence because where he may be the better minute winner and the ability to go out there and secure these takedowns and score well on DraftKings, there's always that fear of being absolutely nuked by a guy like Saidyokub Kakhramonov. Kakhramonov's been able to keep up with the likes of Umar Nurmagomedov and many more. The guy's talented. And I feel like stylistically, you can't count out Lawrence here. Kakhramonov has been taken down, has been controlled in the clinch, and that's really where Lawrence excels. So of course I'm going to have ownership on this fight. Both win conditions score very well. Either Ronny Lawrence is going to go out there, put up a huge score, putting him on his ass again, and securing a lot of takedowns, or Kakhramonov is going to absolutely shut his lights out. So it's a tough one. Both win conditions score very well. However, a guy like Ronny Lawrence has my heart forever. Great DraftKings upside. I'm targeting both sides. Speaking of high DraftKings upsides, the fight right below them, Treyshawn Gore versus Cody Brundage. That's going to be a fun one. Treyshawn Gore is a guy with insane knockout power, and where he may only be 3-1, I feel like he has a decent stylistic matchup here. Cody Brundage is a very, very powerful wrestler who has heart for days. We saw that in the last fight. He jumped Gilly even though he was getting absolutely dominated, and he pulled out a win. Treyshawn Gore, really saw him on The Ultimate Fighter, has this problem with throwing volume, but I think that every time this fight stays on the feet for an extended period of time is Treyshawn Gore's opportunity to absolutely knock his lights out once again. Brundage has shown to be hit before and has been clipped and has seen to have a weaker chin, and Gore definitely packs a ton of power. I think the official pick is going to be Treyshawn Gore by knockout, but both their win conditions score well. It's a grappler versus striker matchup, and I do think that the better grappler, where it may be Brundage, will have a tough time taking down the striker in Treyshawn Gore. Treyshawn Gore's win condition is that knockout, scores very well, whereas Cody Brundage's win condition is taking down Treyshawn Gore over and over again, winning a decision. I definitely think that has the ability to happen once again. Like I said, Treyshawn Gore's 3-1. There's a lot of question marks, but I still think he gets it done. Knockout power for days. Give me a guy in Treyshawn Gore at 8.3K. All right, let's talk an underdog. I need to take a deep breath for this one. I'm taking Michael Johnson, 7.1K, and hear me out. Okay, Michael Johnson is that banana peel fighter. He's the guy who's winning until he isn't, who pulls these wins, but also these losses right from his ass. Now, I don't want to scare you guys off, because if I say he's 1-4 in his last 5, that's a scary one. But I definitely think he has the ability to put up a very good DraftKings score this weekend, and let me tell you why. Michael Johnson is this guy who's very good, but just seems to lose these fights, and his credibility has been damaged because of it. All these fights that he's winning, and then he just does something stupid and loses. It's really scared people away from betting him, but he's getting to a point where it's absolutely absurd. He's the second cheapest guy on the slate, and his win condition scores very well here. Jamie Mullarkey, where he showed to be tough in his first UFC fights, got knocked out bad last time. Coming off of a short turnaround, only 4 months, right off that horrible knockout is not the best look, and you don't think he's going to be having the best of the striking exchange against Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson fights longer, and I think has more power at the end of his punches. Sure, Mullarkey's going to have the advantage on the ground and the grappling, but I don't necessarily think it gets that far. Michael Johnson has seemed to have some really good takedown defense. So every minute it's on the feet. I think that the favorite should be Michael Johnson here, funny enough. I think there's great value at 7.1K. I don't think he should be that cheap. I definitely think that the line should be a bit closer here, but it is Michael Johnson at the end of the day, so I don't fault you for not wanting to risk it on him, because he is one of those guys who has come back to haunt people in the past. But I am liking Michael Johnson at 7.1K this weekend. All right, 2 fighters I'm liking up top. Number 1, Said Nurmagomedov. He's kind of my cash option this week, and it's kind of one of those ones where he should be cash. He's the most expensive fighter on the slate, 9.2K. I just think he has the entourage covered everywhere. Better striker, grappler, all of the above, better cardio. This guy's just a beast, and I do think he wins this fight at a pretty high clip. Don't necessarily think he has the highest ceiling, though, because he hasn't seemed to be too much of a finisher, although I do think he's a good stylistic matchup to go out there and score well. Looking at one with an even higher ceiling, let's look at Kai Baralho. 8.9K, second fight in the UFC, but he's got a very good stylistic matchup in my opinion. Petrosian, a guy who's been a very, very talented kickboxer, but who's going to have a real tough time dealing with Baralho's ground game. Baralho's an absolute killer. He showed that last time against Godzi. He's got amazing jiu-jitsu, and I think he's just a really smart fighter in general. Don't let the neck tattoo fool you. He's a smart dude. He knows what he has to do to win, and I think that he has a very good stylistic matchup here. The only way that I would give Petrosian the advantage in this spot is if Kai decides to strike for a long period of time. Petrosian will probably be the better striker, definitely be the more powerful striker, and Baralho leaves his head up high sometimes, but I don't think that necessarily comes into play. I think Kai Baralho does what Gregory Rodriguez should have done and shoots right away, takes him down, exploits that ground game of him, and subs him early on. His ceiling is very good, and I absolutely love him at 8.9K. Sneaky play this week is going to be Jared Vanderaa, 8.6K. Chase Sherman, absolute joke. You should be rich by now if you're fading him non-stop. He's got no ground game. Vanderaa is the opposite of Baralho, as he's kind of a dummy. He's going to have this clear advantage anytime he gets to the ground. Vanderaa is a black belt and will have an insane path to victory that will come really easily if he does decide to grapple. However, we can't necessarily trust him to do that, but I still think he's a sneaky fighter at that price range because his upside's through the roof. So give me the bigger guy with more paths to victory in Jared Vanderaa. All right, let's round out the rest of the card. Ricky Turcio's super fun fighter. I love watching him, but I'm definitely going to be underweight to him compared to a lot of people. He fights at a super fast pace, but I don't necessarily think his opponent does. Whereas Turcio's averages 4.59 DraftKings points per minute, Zahibi, my Canadian boy, only averages 1.91. And he only allows 2.52 against. It's a really weird spot for Turcios here because he's a super active fighter who probably will be winning the minutes, but with the lower action guy in Zahibi who likes to pick his shots and be technical about it, it's going to be harder for Turcios to live up to that price tag once again. With that being said as well, Turcios was not perfect. He's got a lot of holes in his game and he's not as defensively sound as I want him to be. If one thing Zahibi does have has a lot of power, especially in that first round, so I don't think that counter hook knockout is necessarily out of the picture for a guy like Turcios. He has been knocked out before. He gets hit a lot. So I think that the win condition is there for Zahibi. I think that he's going to probably need that knockout to score well. Because when it comes to winning minutes, Turcios is that guy. I think he's a pretty fun option to have this week, especially to cheer for. But I'd be a bit more cautious than everybody else this week. Shevchenko, Casey, just an absolute mess. Casey has a better DraftKings upside because she has that ground game upside, but I think it's to be a slow striking affair. Both fighters don't score very well. Not very interested. Calvillo, Nunes, even less interested. Both fighters past their prime have seemed to be extremely weak in their past few fights. I'm kind of leaning towards Mama Nunes just because I think that Nina is going to be the better minute winner on the feet and has shown to have decent takedown defense in the past. I think she's going to be the better striker and probably win the fight, but score like 70 points in doing so at max. I don't think her ceiling is very high. I don't think either fighter's ceiling is very high. So pass on that one altogether. Last but not least, Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Karl Roberson. I can't get these guys right, so I cannot give you a solid read. The pick is going to be Kennedy Nzechukwu, though. I think he's the bigger guy, going to have the striking advantage. I think he has the takedown defense to fend off Karl Roberson if Karl Roberson does decide to shoot here. I think Nzechukwu weasels his way to a tight decision, purely based off his size. And finally, I don't have salaries for the Onama fight, but it looks like Onama's going to roll. I don't think he's that bad of an option up top. I think it's going to be a really fun fight, and being the bigger guy at 145, I do think Onama finishes here. However, I do think that Armfield has a decent future. He looks like a pretty decent prospect, only 25 years old. I'm excited to see how this fight goes down. I kind of want to get more information before I go out there, put a stamp on a bet, so I'm going to kind of pass. However, I do think Onama is a guy who, if you have the money to go get, definitely has a decent ceiling. But that's going to do it for me here on the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. Once again, check out all the rest of my content, current MMA best bets video, the Plays and Fades prop drop, the Pugsport Radio DFS breakdown, and I did my full card breakdown on the Couch Warrior pod, which I will link in the description down below. I wish everybody the best of luck on the rest of your plays this weekend. Before you go, make sure you subscribe to the channel, liking the video, showing some love, checking me out on Twitter at GamblesGordo, because that's where I'm going to post my picks probably Friday night. And with that, guys, let's make some money.